I'd like you to imagine this scene. You come home from a long day at school/work. You grab a brewski or generic cola from the fridge, crack it open, and turn on the TV, just in time to hear a newscaster and the daily bulletin. Sadly, the dog did not survive. Just then, a piece of paper is handed to him from off screen. Thank you. This just in. A local youth has been apprehended on a public school campus carrying... Oh my god. Is this accurate? Carrying a bandana. Parental groups have already denounced the child. Marilyn Manson could not be reached for comment. Now, by this point, you're probably staring at the newscaster like he's crazy. I mean, a bandana. Since when are bandanas considered evil or subversive to America's youth? Well, since the early 90s. We'll get into that in a little while. There's been a growing trend in recent years in the banning of certain rather dull and innocuous items from public school campuses. For the most part, these restrictions are fairly straightforward. Guns, knives, and single malt whiskey are all illegal for obvious reasons. But other items, among them bandanas, cell phones, and indeed iPods, are considered contraband and will be confiscated. Now this is the school dress code for my local school district, courtesy of my typo-ridden and extremely concise daily planner. It reasonably enough prohibits the wearing of erotic, degenerate, and racy clothing, as well as sunglasses, silly hats, and so-called do-rags. Now there's one prohibition in particular I'd like to bring your attention to. It reads, attire with lettering or drawings, blah blah blah, sex, drugs, rock and roll, skip down a couple lines, or which degrade the integrity of the wearer or others may not be worn. Now that word integrity gave me pause for thought, so I turned to my handy-dandy pocket dictionary. Firm adherence to a set of especially moral or artistic codes. Does that mean that I can't wear my Power Rangers t-shirt to school anymore? I mean, I may like it, but it sure as heck doesn't beat the artistic taste of almost everyone at my school. Forget them. I mean, they're a bunch of commies anyway. Who doesn't like the Power Rangers? That was a rhetorical question, by the way. But you know what's not a rhetorical question? Well, that was. But anyway, the zero tolerance policy. Now this is a list of some of the various items which under no circumstances are you allowed to do or have in schools in America. It reasonably enough prohibits firearms, knives, other dangerous weapons, explosive devices, possession or sale of controlled substances, that's drugs, by the way, as well as robbery, extortion, hate, violence, arson, and in certain parts of North Dakota, magnets. Now, these restrictions are all completely straightforward. I mean, knives can stab people. Guns, I'm sorry, people with guns can kill people. Other dangerous weapons and explosive devices are both extremely dangerous, and, as we all learned back in elementary school, smokers, dopers, cokers, and Vicodin users are jokers. Robbery, extortion, hate, violence, arson are all, of course, illegal everywhere in the world except Sicily, and magnets are bad if you're a robot. Yes. But enough about that. Now, for the fun part of the X-Files. The part where I get to tell you guys about the silly things that were considered evil and subversive. And I, finally, get to open up a can of hoo-ah on my lovely assistant. Now, I mentioned earlier in the X-Files how bandanas are considered contraband. Now I'd like to, as it were, examine the evidence. I'd like you all to calm down. I am a trained professional. You are not in any danger. Kids, don't try this at home. Now this is an example of a common street bandana. I caught this one in Borneo a few years back and have been keeping it to date. However, I'd like to remind everyone that this is a wild animal. If anyone's going to do anything wacky or funny, it could come alive and try to kill us all. So just, try to keep a lid on it. Anyway, the common street bandana ranges in colors from red to blue to, in certain circumstances, sky blue. It is extremely light and flimsy, weighing in at 1 or 2 ounces, and thus does not make for a very good bludgeon. However, it does bear certain characteristics in common with rope. If you wish, you could simply wrap it around someone's neck, thus, and effectively cut off their air supply. Or, it's been a long day at school. I know how it is. Sometimes it's impossible to keep awake during math. Simply wrap it around someone's head a little bit like that, and wait for the security guards to tackle them. Now, next on our list we have the common iPod. It's typically found around yuppies, teenagers, and yuppie teenagers, and, like the noble bandana, it is banned on public school campuses. Well, I asked around, and it seems like the iPod, aside from being 80 gigs of fun in your pocket, is totally harmless. So, why would it be considered contraband? And then it hit me. Headphones. Where there are iPods, there are headphones. And where there are headphones, there are accidents, people. Now this may look to you like a simple cord of wire covered in insulating rubber and capped with listening devices. But in reality, it is nothing more than a copper and wire noose capped with listening devices. And while yo-yos may look friendly and harmless enough, all it would take would be a couple razor-sharp blades to turn this relic of your childhood into a spinning whirligig of death. Oh, and you can hit people with it. Now, not always toys which are considered contraband. Sometimes books can be controversial as well. This is a list of some of the various authors who at one point or another have been banned or censored within the United States. As you can see, some of these, again, are fairly straightforward. Harry Beecher Stewart, Uncle Tom's Cabin, offensive to some people. And Salman Rushdie wrote a book which was so controversial a bounty was placed on the writer's head. He wouldn't want the same fate befalling their children. However, some of these names still managed to catch the eye. Anne Frank, Will Shakespeare? Well, why would they be there? They're there because someone got offended. Now, these banned books bring to light an important controversy. Of course, we should protect the children from evil and degenerate works. But where do we draw the line? At different points in time, the Bible, the Quran, and the American Heritage Dictionary have been censored for containing objectionable words and phrases, and for failing to be family-friendly. Shel Silverstein's poetry anthology entitled A Light in the Attic was removed from a Wisconsin elementary school because, quote, it encourages children to break dishes so they don't have to dry them. And, of course, that most sinister book of all, so evil it was removed from an Illinois elementary school, Sylvester and the Magic Devil, which portrays policemen as pigs. Now, why are all of these things considered contraband? I mean, I can understand knives, iPods. Well, I suppose you could sharpen the edges and throw it like a frisbee. If you were lucky and a good shot, you might possibly break the skin. And if you've ever been hit with a yo-yo, you know it can really hurt. But is that the real reason? Or is there a far more obvious one? Could it be that all these things are considered contraband not because they're dangerous, but because they're distracting? Because they distract our students from our hard-working teachers with gewgaws and glitter? Or maybe because they reflected a generation of American culture into mindless materialism? What if, in fact, all of these rules I am satirizing are reasonable and restrained restrictions designed to benefit the learning environment while simultaneously protecting us from the infraction of the laws of this great country? Is that why they won't let me bring my iPod to school? Nah, it's probably because it makes both the teachers and my fellow students insanely jealous. As my elementary school teacher used to say, I hope you brought enough for everyone. And so, I did. Yes, as I speak here today, there's a large shipment of iPods, cell phones, and other handheld electronic devices en route to this very room, where I myself will be distributed. All you guys need to do is sit back, relax, and wait for the twist ending. Twist ending?